Hi there guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you a long-awaited video. It is the contouring video. Now, if you guys watch my videos a lot, you would know that I don't tend to contour a lot in my videos. Like, contouring isn't necessarily a necessity for a lot of my looks. It has now become a really popular part of the makeup world and a lot in the industry. A lot of very well-known celebrities such as Kim Kardashian have been rocking this for years now, and it is something that, in my opinion, has got blown out of proportion a little bit. Contouring is an amazing aspect of makeup. It can help to enhance certain features and to hide others. So there are many ways to go about contouring. You can contour very lightly with bronzer, or you can go all the way using cream and powder products. Today I decided to do cream and powder products to create a full contoured face look, meaning the face, the nose, everything. And I just decided that I would do that because I don't tend to do that much in my videos, whereas you guys see me very lightly contour with contouring powders and bronzers all the time, and I thought I would just show you the more full-on version of doing a contouring look. So just to let you know guys, this is definitely something I wouldn't wear for a everyday or even a lot of evening looks. It's definitely something very strong, and especially for me, I feel like my face can't take too much of it, and even now I feel like a little bit overwhelmed with how strong it is. And just for me, I just feel like my face is I have quite a small face, and a lot of the time I only like to contour very lightly on some areas. I do like contouring my nose sometimes. Depends whatever type of mood strikes me when I'm doing a makeup look. So guys, if you would like to know how I achieve a full-on contoured look, then please watch on. So guys, before we put any of the makeup on, we want to make sure that our skin is prepped properly, because when we're applying a lot of makeup onto our skin, it clogs up into our pores and it just doesn't look nice. So you want to make sure that it looks as smooth as possible. So first I applied my Moisture Infusion Serum by MAC, which I always apply, and then I applied my normal moisturiser, which is the Dramatically Different moisturiser by Clinique. And then I'm going to go over with a primer, and I'm using my Dior CC primer because it's just nice and light, but it gives you a nice airbrushed finish. Next, I'm going in with my Giorgio Armani foundation as I usually would. The only difference is that I'm not going to be applying a lot of it today. I'm just going to be applying one very thin layer and just blending that in, and this matches the rest of my body before anyone says anything. Someone always comments on it, but yes, this does match the rest of my body, I promise. And I'm going to be blending all this in with a flat Morphe brush, which I've been absolutely loving at the moment. So I'm just going to make sure to blend everything evenly, just to have a nice even layer all over the skin. And I know a lot of people tend to do foundation a little bit differently when they contour. Some people like to use a darker foundation and a lighter foundation to contour, but I prefer having a normal base underneath it. And then I usually like to highlight with a concealer. So I'm using my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in a lighter colour than my skin. It's probably about 3 shades lighter than my natural skin tone, maybe even 4. But I'm just going to be drawing a very straight line down the side of my nose, and it's going to be covering my nostril a little bit. What that is going to do is it's going to narrow my nose down, because I do have a slightly wide nose at the bottom but not at the top, so that's just going to make it look a lot more straight, and I find that on certain noses it can be a little bit harder to contour. So I'm just going to be highlighting the inner part of my forehead, and then I'm going to take that down to the bridge of my nose as well. And because my nose, like I said, it gets bigger towards the end than it is on the bridge, I'm going to take it down about halfway, and then when it gets to the bottom I'm going to draw a little circle, and that will almost give the appearance of a turned up nose instead of turning down. Then I'm going to take MAC Light Boost, which is a very light highlighter pen, and just apply it on the very upper point of our cheekbone, and I'm going to blend that all together with a Real Technique sponge, and I'm just going to be using lots of bouncing motions just to pat that into the skin. Because we are using a lot of product, if you use a brush, I just feel like it doesn't blend in as good. And I'm going to leave that until it's almost semi-blended in, so it's not completely blended in, because we're going to be setting that with a powder, and I feel like sometimes when you allow it to be semi-set instead of fully set, it just looks a lot more smooth under the eyes. So I'm just using my finger to get into the very small corners of my eye. Next I'm going to be using my finger to do the other small areas like my cupid's bow, and as you can see I've just applied some on the very tops of my cupid's bow. So I'm just blending that in with my finger, and then I'm also going to take my sponge again and blend it in my forehead in little circular motions. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to be patting that into my nose because I don't want the lighter area to get all over the rest of my nose. I want it to be in a very specific placement, so I'm just going to be patting that onto very small areas. Then I'm going to be taking my MAC CC powder in the yellow colour and I'm going to be packing that on quite thickly to make sure that's nice and set. And I like to use this instead of my banana powder because it's just a lot smoother and it's less chalky than the banana powder. So this is just a really good dupe for that, or it's a lot better in my opinion. I prefer it. And I'm just going to be blending it in with that same brush, and that just gives us a really nice bright under eye look. Then I'm going to be setting the other areas that we highlighted with that same powder. Next I'm going to be taking my RCMA palette and taking this dark foundation colour. You can take any cream colour that you want, but I'm just going to be using a very small domed brush and using it to apply it to my hollows of my cheeks. And as you can see it's quite a dark colour, so you don't want to apply too much of this. And I would say this is about 5 shades darker than my natural skin tone. And I'm going to be applying it to the sides of my forehead to make my face shape look a lot more narrow. Then I'm going to be applying it to the very inner part of my cupid's bow and also my jawline, because my jawline is quite defined. I have quite a large jawline, so I just like to try and cover that up as much as possible. Then with a smaller brush, I'm going to be going very slightly down the corners of my nose. And as I said, my nose gets thicker towards the bottom, so I like to go a little bit more closer together. Like I want the two lines on either side of my nose to get closer together as it gets to the bottom. So as you can see, I'm just going to be applying a little bit more, just like a third up from the bottom, and what that does is it gives the appearance of that turned up nose again, and then I'm going to be shading at the bottom as well, and what that does is just makes the nose appear shorter. Then I'm just going to be blending that in with a rounded Morphe brush, and we need to make sure that we're blending this really well because we don't want it to look unnatural. We want all the colours to blend together but still be in the right placement. So I'm just going to be blending that in to my hairline just to make sure that it looks nice and natural, and you want to make sure that all the colours have no harsh lines. You literally want them to blend into each other. And then as it gets to the cheekbone, you just want to make sure that you're blending upwards instead of downwards, because again, you don't want to make the colour, the darker colour, in the wrong place. So you can see I'm just kind of flicking it upwards to prevent it going below the line. Then I'm just using my finger again for the smaller areas. And then when it gets to the nose, I'm just using that small dome brush again, and I'm going to be using that to blend the lines on my nose. It really is different for different shapes of noses and faces, so you want to try and analyse your face as much as possible. What works for me might not work for you. I've found that using that little line at the bottom of my nose really helps to make my nose look a little bit more turned upwards instead of turned downwards, and also just blending things in with my finger just to make sure that everything's really blended in, because the nose contour can't be too harsh, otherwise it's really apparent. Next, I'm going to be taking a contouring powder just to go over that contour on my cheekbone, and that just makes everything look a little bit more exaggerated. You don't have to do this. When you don't use this, it looks a little bit more natural, but I just feel like it creates a new dimension to the contouring, and I just think it pulls the whole thing together. Next, I'm going to be taking that same yellow powder that we used under the eyes, and I'm just going to use it to kind of buff everything together, and that just gives everything a really natural look. Then I'm just going to highlight the tops of my cheekbones just to make everything look nice and brought forward, and it also gives us a really gorgeous glow as well. And again, I'm just doing it half down the bridge of my nose, and then I'm going to do a tiny little circle at the bottom, and that just makes our nose look a little bit more of a button nose instead of more turned downwards. So guys, that is the end of this contouring video. As you can see, this is what it looks like with a full face of makeup. I honestly feel like contouring should never be used unless you are wearing a full face of makeup, because it just feels really strange otherwise. There's a lot going on your skin, and your skin does look very structured, and without any other features to kind of bring it out, I just feel like it looks really weird. So with a full face of makeup, I think it looks amazing. So I really do like how it looks now, but in general, I just feel like really softly contouring your face is a lot better than being too harsh with it. Even though I used a lot of heavy products, it does still look quite natural, and it just enhances my face in the right way without looking too strong. And I do love a strong cheek contour sometimes, but with creams and powders you have to be careful with how strong they are. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching this video guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Thank you.